Okay. I apologize if everything is looking weird. I'm having technical difficulties. Tried to avoid them, but it is what it is. This is Tara coming at you live. I think I might have figured this out. Tara coming from North Carolina for Scrap and Stamp, and we are celebrating National Scrapbooking Day today, and we're also celebrating our Windows of Wonder Inspiration Hop this weekend. So this is the card that I shared for the hop. It uses these fun looking glass dies from Hero Arts, and I'm going to walk you through how I made it. Just with a little twist, I'm going to change the size a little bit, and we'll go through the steps. But if you are here, would you please just pop in, say hi, tell me where you're watching from. If you're watching the replay, just pop in replay and tell me where you're watching from. But if you're live, I would love to see some chatting with you, just so I know I'm not alone watching this. I'm going to pop in while I'm just waiting to see for someone to join me. I'm going to drop some links in the comments for some of the products I used today. I'm going to give you a link to these dies. This is what the package looks like for the looking glass. And then I've a few other things. So I am here. I'm just going to go over to my computer and add in a few links into the comments. And please let me know you're here. I wish I could edit these lives afterwards and get rid of these first few minutes while I'm just waiting for people to pop in. All right. Please drop a like, drop a comment. Let me know what's going down. How's the weather this Saturday where you guys are at? All right, I see myself. Hey, Carol. Hey, Deepa. Good to see you guys both. Thank you so much for stopping in. I was not seeing anything a second ago there. Carol, you're near Montreal. Wow. Okay. So I'm in North Carolina, and I'm from BC, though. So that's how I got to know Raya and got on working with Scrap and Stamp. Just dropping a link for the looking glass dies, and gonna drop a link for the watercolor pencils that I'm using. And then we're gonna get started. Back and forth between different accounts and stuff to get as many people on here joining me. I'm not sure why your comments are not showing on my iPad, which is in front of me. I could see them on my computer, but not on my iPad. Maybe if I put full screen. Swipe left. Okay. Clearly I got a little bit of tech stuff to figure out, but that's okay. All right. I'm hoping I can say some comments and stuff, but we'll see what happens. Hoping they pop up in front of me. Because it's a little tricky going back and forth between 3 devices here. I got them all in this room though. All right, let's get started here. Oops. Okay, so happy Saturday. This, again, I said I'm working with these Looking Glass dies, and these are fun. They're a set of 3 dies that are designed to layer and give you a window with different layers to it. So for this card here, I have an open window, and the 3 layers are the bee, the sunflowers, and the leaves. And I'm going to do another version of this card with you guys today. I'm just going to do an A2 card, and we're just going to mix things up a little bit. So for this card, I've already done all the die cutting because my die cut machine is across the room, and I didn't want to be messing with that for you. So the layers, I have got my top layer is die cut with a frame. I used my favorite things, dynamic stitched frame, and I've cut the bee out of it. I just use washi tape to position that in place. And it comes off. Get my bee off of there. And comes apart. So here's this little cutie. All right, so this is my top layer. And then I will take my top layer and I position it over my base card. And that's how I figure I put washi tape on the die. And I kind of positioned it underneath, kind of figured it out, and positioned with washi tape, wiggled it around a bit to get it where I wanted it. Then I die cut, opened up my card, and die cut the base layer, which is the leaves. And then I'm going to pop that one out. So I've got the top and the bottom layers right here, and they'll fit together like so. And then my middle layer, I just did on a scrap of paper, and that's the sunflowers. And this, I can kind of play with whatever direction I want to do it in. But I did it on a scrap, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to color each of these layers. I'm going to adhere this layer. I can either layer it on top of this one or behind this one. Either way, it doesn't really matter because I'm just making a little sandwich here. And those are the 3 layers we're working with. I'm going to trim this down after I do the coloring though. So it's probably going to go like so over top. And then the bee over top of that. Okay, so that's kind of your sandwich, how that's going to turn out. But let's take them apart. Let's do a little bit of coloring and get it going. So again, 3-piece sandwich. And there's a few different ways you could make this work. Sorry, I'm a little annoyed that I'm not seeing any comments. I can see them on my other screen. Swipe left. There we go. Okay, I see you guys now. All right, I see Denise. Hey, Denise, thanks for coming by and stopping to pop in. All right, I think I got my technical difficulties figured out. So today I'm working with these dies. We are using Distress watercolor pencils. I've got a couple sets I'm working with, but I'm really keeping the palette pretty basic because we're doing some yellows, some greens, and then I've got blues on the inside of my card that we're going to use. And I'm still learning with these Distress watercolor pencils. They work a little bit differently than some of the other watercolor pencils I've used, and I've been using watercolor pencils for a long time. But what I found when I was working on this card was I really liked kind of layering them together with Distress ink, and then okay, Deepa, so I gotta keep tapping here on the screen. Well, I see you right now, so we'll keep watching for that. Okay. Thank you so much for popping in and helping me with this. I'm hoping, you know, we're trying to get kinks out so I can do these more often and maybe get right to the fun stuff instead of spending 5-10 minutes with technical difficulties. I'm going to start with a B on this card because I don't know if you can see, I've got a little bit of glitter on his wings. So I want to be able to get him colored, get some glitter on there, and then set it aside and have it dry. Or I can put it on the very end. Usually what I do when I work with glitter is I put it on at the very, very end. Let's do that. Okay. Still though, let's start with sunflower because it's got the wow factor. I'm gonna add, I've got wild honey and squeezed lemonade. I'm gonna kind of mix the two of them and just put a base layer down on these sunflowers. Now this is a middle layer, so it does not have to be neat. I'm gonna be trimming it and you will not see anything around the edges on here. So I'm just using an ink applicator, applying a little bit of color. And this is just kind of a base that we're gonna start from. Anybody hanging out in their craft room doing some crafty stuff? Well, Denise, I hope I can help you out. I'm glad. I bought 2 sets. I'm still looking for the third one. I really like them. I like having the perfect colors, but like I say, there's a little bit of a learning curve I'm finding. I need to go watch some tutorials, but we'll get it. They're such pretty colors, and I'm a sucker for a good container. They're a great little container too. All right, I'm gonna add some wild honey in for it. I'm using the same ink applicating tool just because they're both yellows. And I'm gonna go in and kind of ink more of the center of the sunflower. Kind of work out to bring some darkness to the middle here. And then just kind of blend out. Get some on the tips as well. I love the blendability of Distress inks. Okay, I think that's a good base layer. I'm going to set that aside for just a minute. And we're going to move on to the leaf. I think that's the only one because it's the largest one. I'm not gonna do a base layer of ink on the other ones. So I'm just gonna pull out some greens for my leaves. I have got Twisted Citron, comes in this set here. And this one is die cutting and assembling. I like to kind of work like that, Denise, and kind of cut some stuff ahead, get it ready to go, and then you've got pieces to make some finished cards. I had a blast after last week's live because I had all those backgrounds to work with, and I made quite a few cards with them, and I still have more to do, so I'm excited to work with them and get some different things on there. Thank you, Deepa, for popping in. I will catch you later. All right, so I'm going to kind of go half and half. So we're working with Rustic Wilderness, and these are quite soft pencils. I'm just going to do just a light shading over half of the leaf and then maybe around the outer edge. I'm going to do that on all the leaves. Again, this is a bottom layer, so it can be messy. It's kind of the nice part about these layers is I can scribble off the edges and it does not matter. I think that's one thing I really like about watercolor pencils in general is that you can kind of scribble because you're gonna, like with Copic markers, I love my Copics, but you have to be quite careful. You know, a boo-boo is a boo-boo. With watercolor pencils, they're quite forgiving. You can just add layers on there and get more color going. All right, so I've got half of those. I'm gonna go in with Twisted Citron, a nice bright limey green. And I'm going a little bit stronger with my color on this one. I'm pressing a little harder. I swear. I get smudges on everything. Anybody else out there that's watching that has some distress watercolor pencils they've picked up but they haven't quite mastered yet? All right, let's start with that. I really like to use a water brush. I've got a stash of them. This one is by Prima, but I know there's a few different ones in the store. I like to just kind of brush it on my finger, make sure I've got, I think I did that off screen. I just kind of give a little squeeze because it's got a little mechanism there, and just make sure the water's flowing on my skin before I put it on my card, just to avoid big old puddles of water. And now we're just going to start blending. And I am going for a blended look here. And this is just going to soften out all those lines that I scribbled. And again, it doesn't matter if you go off the edges because they are going to be covered up. Telling me there's 5 people tuned in watching, and I think 2 of them are me. I've got my iPad in front of me so I can see what you see, or hopefully see what you see, and hopefully see your comments. So again, if you're, one of those 5 that's not me, just let me know if you have questions. All right, there's my green. And just kind of give it a little feeler layer in here. There's what those are looking like so far. And now let's go in. I'm gonna pull out some fossilized amber and vintage photo. Amber, I'm just gonna do a little bit of just kind of some accent lines, some of the details of the sunflower. And then I'm also gonna reach over to my bee and I'm gonna color him in, but not all of it. I'm gonna kind of do, the stripes of the bee. Again, scribbles. I actually like how it's going to be. Thank you, Carol. I'm seeing your comments, so I love that. I know I love all the different shades of leaves in the springtime. Such a nice change from winter when everything's just gray. So nice to see all that green out there. I think I've got another yellow in here I'm going to grab. I'm also going to grab another brown. I've got antique linen. Antique linen is quite pale. It looks a little beigey, but I'm going to do a little bit of it on the wings of this bee. Now this one, the bee is our front layer, so it does matter if you go outside the lines. Kind of need to watch that a little bit more closely. Okay. And just a little bit of shading in there. All right, let's do the wings. Just adding just a hint of color. And I'm not worried too much about going outside the lines with this bee because I'm going in with black for the stripes on it. And I'm going to be a little bit unconventional with my black. All right, I'm going to set him aside for a second. Let's get a little bit of brown in the middle of this sunflower. This die has some really great dimension, all the little sunflower seeds in there, and they're going to kind of pick up some darker spots of color too. I probably went a little bit heavy-handed. Just a little bit. Okay, let's get my water pencil again. So I hope you can see watercolor pencils are really a quick and easy way to add color, because they're not as perfect. You don't have to be as perfect with them as you do with other mediums. And I think that's why they've always kind of been my favorite. I get a little bit of a chalkiness when I go in with the water over the distress, and I kind of like it. It just, I don't know, it reminds me a little bit of what I get when I add water to distress oxide. Okay, let's set that aside for just a minute. We'll decide if we're going to come back and add more or not. So far, I'm liking it though. Let's play with the layers here. Pretty good. The bee's gonna go over that. He looks kind of albino right now, doesn't he? So I'm a little unconventional. For my black, we're going in with a Sharpie. We're just taking the regular black fine point Sharpie. And I'm gonna start with his legs. And just kind of in there. It is going to be on my craft sheet, but if you look closely, you can probably tell I'm not super picky about what's left on my craft sheet, as long as it's not wet ink in between projects. I'm gonna leave his antenna white for now. I'm going with his little head. I'm gonna just do lines, kind of scribbly, mimic that fur, fuzzy little bumblebee. That could kind of join in there. That could kind of join in there. I think that looks all right. Let's go take this linen again. Let's put a little bit of linen on the antenna. I can't say I Googled what color the antenna are. Kind of want to put maybe just a splash of, I don't know, let's go with pistachio. Just for a little bit of that iridescent look. Just a little bit in there, and maybe a touch of purple too, because why not? All right, so that's what that's looking like at the moment. Nothing too special, but let's add some water and see what it does. Okay. Oh, I can dig that. I like that. Kind of a fun little bit of color. All right. One more go. Let's take our little layers. This one's going together pretty quick. Okay. Let's go ahead. Get these glued together so I can put some glitter on those wings, and then we'll get the inside panel figured out. So I'm just going to trim this out just with a little bit of a border so that I can put glue on this. Again, this does not need to be straight lines or anything like that, because you will not see it, I promise. let's put this over top of the leaves for starters. I know I don't have too many people chiming in with me live, but if you are watching the replay, please put in a comment for the replay. I'm going to try to check back, answer questions, anything like that. All right, so these are pretty easy to line up because they are all open windows. There's one. Somebody last week told me they had some kind of eraser they used for their smudges. I don't even know what these smudges are, to be perfectly honest. But I definitely have smudges on this card. I might have to play that up since I've got kind of some pink smudges. We might have to go with that a little bit and do some splatters on here. Maybe, I don't know, I might regret this, but let's put some splatters on here. Let's get a little bit of camouflage happening just around the edges of this card. Going in with a little bit of saltwater taffy. Oops. Do what you gotta do, right? Okay, let's see what that does. Now we are gonna wipe this up. Let's set that aside for a second. Spritz. Grab my towel, my banky. All right. Some of these are just paint that are on there. Okay, a little bit of camouflage. Now before I put this on there, I am going to stamp a sentiment. So for this one, because I decided to go horizontal on this card, because I'm using a stamp from the same set that I used for the original card. I used this Rise Above the Storm and You'll Find the Sunshine. And I'm going to use this one here, Wild Like a Flower, Warm Like the Sun. And it just kind of fits perfectly in there. And I think it's going to be really sweet. I love the sentiment. These are from Crafter's Companion, Sun-Kissed Wishes stamp set. And it is a great little set, and it's really reasonably priced too. With some really great sentiments, especially if you are a sunflower lover like I am. A sand eraser, okay. I feel like, what does a sand eraser work on, Denise? Does it work on like distress ink, which is what I'm guessing that was? A water-based ink? I'm gonna try, I haven't used this stamp yet, so I'm just gonna try it on a scrap of paper first, just to make sure that I get a nice crisp image. Figure out my pressure. It is a brand new stamp, and sometimes they're just a little bit smudgy the first time you use them. It looks like it's perfect though. I'm using Versifying Clair Nocturne. It's just one of my favorite blacks for sentiments and for just outlines in general. Okay, I'm just gonna line it up. Yes, gonna leave us with a nice border. Hopefully my head's not in the way. Let me back up. All right. Now I am going to, because I just stamped the sentiment, we're going to go ahead with the glitter, and we're going to set it aside, let all these pieces dry, and we'll come back and glue them together in a little bit. So I'm using Distress Rock Candy Stickles. I don't know if you can get these anymore. I think they stopped making them. They might, although Rock Candy, I know they make the loose glitter. And this is just a Stickles version. If I could start a petition to have them bring it back, if you can't get them, I would, because I love these things. Just the Rock Candy is my favorite, although I do have other colors. But what I like about them is that they dry with like a matte finish. So I'm just going to put a little bit on there. I might have got a little heavy-handed while I was chatting. So these are just like a white or clear. And I'm just gonna, I use my fingers. I'm just gonna spread it across those wings. They will pick up the color that's underneath, which is why I added color, because they are water reactive. Being a distressed product, they will pick up the distressed products that are underneath. And the other thing I like is, I was just wiping off a little that went over the edge. So they're gonna dry clear, but they're gonna dry without the gloss of glue that you get on a lot of glitter glues and things. They're just gonna dry with like a sprinkling of sugar on there. Tombow for that eraser. Okay, well I might have to look for that. I think I got a little bit carried away with these stickles, but I can wipe them off a bit. All right, I'm gonna set that aside. It's gonna go like that. You can see, I think it's gonna be really pretty. The splatters I did kind of pick up on that color that's in the wings a little bit. Kind of gives it a little bit of a pinky hue. It kind of tempts me, instead of doing a blue sky in the background, to maybe go some pinky colors. But I'm gonna pull out pinky colors. So the last thing I did for this one here, I was just playing with the watercolor pencils and did kind of an ombre background. And I just trimmed it out with scissors. This one I actually die cut a little square that's just a little bit bigger. It's actually the same size as that one, so it's just about 1/4 of an inch bigger than the dies themselves, as you can see here. So that's gonna give me, you know, a nice little palette to work on, and gives me a little bit of forgiveness as well. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start with Salvage Patina. I'm gonna go kind of tealies in this one. I'm just gonna do a soft inking on there. For starters, Salvage Patina is fairly soft. I had some peacock feathers on this blending thing, so I'm gonna blend them together, but you're getting a little bit of that peacock feathers around the edges, which is totally fine. So I'm gonna be working it in there anyways. I like to do a colored panel just inside the card because it kind of blocks off and leaves you that space still, so you have room to write without thinking it's going to pop in the window. And you could totally stamp sentiments or something like that on there, but it still gives you a good chunk of space to write something to your recipient. I'm going to come in with peacock feathers on the other side. It's super juicy. These two colors, Salvage Patina and Peacock Feathers, are definitely, they're happy colors for me. They are one of my favorite color families to work with. And you'll see I kind of get in ruts sometimes and use them a lot. If you are, what's your favorite distress color? Pop in and tell me if you've got a color that you go to time and time again. I'm going to go back in with more Salvage Patina just to blend it all out. And I think because I did that saltwater taffy on the front, I'm going to grab from North Carolina. I'm in North Carolina too. I don't know if we've met in person, but that would sure be fun. I am in Asheboro right now. Where are you at? Just trying to get the Distress Oxide spray going. And I'm going to do a few splatters on this. Again, it's going to get set aside. Just want a little bit. I'm going to kind of do it. Let's play with this for just 1 second. Let's see what's going to be the top. What's going to be the bottom. We're going to go darker at the bottom. So the bottom right is where that big sunflower is. So I'm going to try to just do a few splatters on the two corners. And the oxide is going to just kind of sit on top. Northwest of Charlotte. Okay. Okay, just a few little bit on there. And just to see what it's gonna do, I'm gonna set that one up here out of the way. Kind of love how it pops though, isn't that fun? It definitely stands out. It looks a little bit like cotton candy on there. I'm gonna do a few more splatters on this with the oxide, just to see if you can tell the difference between them. Sometimes they are just a slightly different color. All right. I get a little trigger happy with my splatters sometimes. All right, let's clean this up. All right, if you're just tuning in, we are using Looking Glass dies by Hero Arts. This was the card I did on our inspiration hop, which you'll see the link to it on the Scrap and Stamp page. And when you're done hanging out with me, you can go check that out and see what everybody else made. We used a variety of window dies, but this is the one I used. It's a set of 3. We've got the 3 layers, the bee, the sunflower, and the leaves. And I did a little window card on there. And we are just doing another variation of that in a top fold card. So I'm going to set all these pieces to the side, and I'm going to show you another card I'm working on. So the other set of window dies that some of the people on the hop were using is these Picket Fence Slimline die cutting system, and it comes, this is a basic set, and I've kind of chopped it up to fit it in one of my clear storage envelopes. But it comes with 2 like full-size slimline layers and 3 round dies, 2 with one with like a grass, one with a fence, and one with a stitched outline, and then 3 square windows. Again, a stitched outline, one with trees, and one with, well, both with trees really, but one is like evergreens and the other one is more of a birch tree. And I took it and I've kind of turned it sideways to use it as branches on a tree to set a bird in. So for the second card, I have done a trifold. And it's just another way to use the windows. I've just used 2 windows on this one. And I kept it really simple. Again, a white card. I cut out the stitched square for the front of it. And then it opens up, and I've got the branches, and then I used one of my birds from Tim Holtz. You can see them over here. They're a great little set. This is the birds, and I just kind of pulled them all out and picked to see which one I thought would fit. And then I've got another panel in there. So, trifold card. I did this one, I think my measurements on this one are 3.5 because I was working with 8.5 by 11 cardstock to begin, so 3.5, and I think I stuck to 5.5. Let me just, nope, it's 6. So 3.5 by 6. So it's a different size limb than this one is. This is 3.5 by 6.5. But both are technically mini slim. You can kind of do whatever size you like. But this size just worked better to make it a trifold and gave me the dimensions I wanted for this one. So I'm going to show you how I did this one. It's quick and easy, but hey, let's get 2 cards ready-made, right? So let's set that one up there. So again, I started, I die cut some birds. These are a favorite of mine, Silhouette Birds by Tim Holtz. You get 9 different dies, and I cut out 3 of them that fit in that window space that I figured. There's a lot of them that sit fairly tall and would have filled the whole place vertically. But because my branches I did were sideways. And again, so what I did was I cut the piece and I scored it at, let me show you, because I actually took a little bit of tweaking. So I scored it first at 3.5, and that is my front panel. And then I've got 3.5 on the inside, but my middle panel, I had to just trim a smidgen off. I trimmed about 1/8 of an inch off so that it would nest inside and it wouldn't buckle when I folded it. So that was just kind of trial and error. It was easier to just do the scoring and then trim it afterwards rather than mucking around with my trim lines or my score lines. So I did that ahead of time. Fairly simple, basic, you know, same idea as with the other one where I did one window first. I think I started with the front one because I wanted those front layers to be perfect, you know, framed. I wanted an even margin around it. And then once I had that cut, I positioned the branches on the second panel and used washi tape to tape it down in place, kind of made sure it was lined up, and then I opened it up and ran it through my die cut machine to cut that out. So that's basic that. And I actually really debated leaving the whole thing just plain white because I'm just in a simplify mode right now, and white on white is really working for me. Although taking pictures of it is a challenge. But I really like the white on white. So let's see, I've got 2 more birds and we'll punch them out from my scrap. Let's see which one we want to use. So this one here, you could sit kind of over this way or over this way. And the tail is going to be hanging on the inside. So that one, kind of like it on that side. It doesn't get in the way of these little branches there. So that is a possibility. It would look something like that. So that's my sitting bird. And then I have a standing bird. And it's kind of like it's on a mission. It's going to look something like that. What do you think? Which one should we work with? Sitting or standing? If you are here watching and you have an opinion, please share it with me. Sitting or standing? Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and start coloring them. I'm a big fan of red birds because I love cardinals. And I see a lot of them here in my yard in North Carolina. And I think I've always been partial to them because my grandmother, standing bird, Carol, standing it is. That's this guy here, right? Yes. Okay, I like him. I don't know, he's on a mission. Hang on, I have got a big old ant on my desk. I tell you, you know it's spring when you get ants in your house. All right, we're doing the standing, and we're gonna go with red. We're just gonna stick to these colors here. Oops. And again, this one I kind of did a bit of layering of colors. I'm going to start with, I'm going to mix it up a little bit from what I did. So I'm using Festive Berries, which is, I'm going to set that aside. Quite a happy red, I guess. It's a little bit pinky toned, which Cardinals aren't really this color, but this isn't really a cardinal either. It's just a red bird. We could pretend. But going in from the back and the tail, I'm getting a little bit more intensity on those parts. I'm going to take a little bit of some browns. I'm going to go in just on the belly. This vintage photo has a little bit of that orangey tone to it, which cardinals have on them as well. Go into its belly, into its feet. They're very delicate. Go in with the water pencil and just see what we get. And then really turn up his nose a little bit. Have a definite, I don't know, there's certain themes that I lean towards when I'm purchasing craft supplies, and birds are one of my favorites. They're definitely up there. And coffee is another one. I think you'll see some coffee stuff coming. But in any kind of plants right now, especially springtime, plants definitely do it for me. What are your default themes? What are some themes you'd like to see in some upcoming live classes? Yeah, it is a little easier definitely to do the coloring when it's still attached. But the only problem with that I find is I don't get it right around the edges. I'm going to leave him like that for now. I'm also going to add just a little bit of texture. Got this little tiny text stamp. This one it's Prima. It's an old one. I've had it for years. I'm just going to, I'm not going to use a block or anything. Going in with a Distress Oxide in Fired Brick. And I'm just, see where my angle is. Just going to do a little bit of text details on there. A bit more where his tail is. It's just going to add that little bit of extra texture look to my bird. There he is. Definitely got a colored belly. Set her aside. Leave this one aside for another day. And once again, let's do a little cleaning before we move on. I mentioned last time I just grabbed like a cotton tea towel type thing, and as you can see, it cleans my work surface a lot. It cleans my hands, it cleans my stamps, it cleans my stencils, whatever I'm working with. If I make a mess, that is there to pick it up and get it straightened out. All right, now for this one, let's go ahead and add some color to my branches. So I've got both Vintage Photo and Frayed Burlap, and I think that's all I really need. Let's start with a little Frayed Burlap, see what color it comes in. It's a little more of a yellowy brown. go along the top of these. Now you are going to see the outline on this. So you can be a little messy. It doesn't have to like stay within the lines or anything. You just have to be aware. You don't want to go crazy coloring outside the edges. Too much. And a little bit more. I always like to blend two colors together at least because it just gives dimension, gives some texture. And with watercolor pencils, I do like to kind of start out with some shading. Like you don't have to necessarily fill in every spot. You can just do a dark outer edge and then you'll blend it all in with your water brush. And if you don't have a technical water brush, which holds the water in here, you could just use, you know, just use a regular paintbrush and some water. These are a lifesaver. One, because you don't have to have a cup of water that you might spill if you're clumsy like me, or you might drink out of it, depending on what kind of container it's in. Give me a thumbs up if you have ever drank out of your water vessel when you're watercoloring or painting. I know I have. I mean, I know it's just water, but not the best tasting water in the world. Okay, there's my little branches. And my bird. It's rolling away. Oops, I'm mangling him a little bit. She is going to, I could have cut two of these out. It's going to go on there like so. I might try to touch down that beak a little bit, just to give it a third point. Now, it's going to go like so. And I think I'm going to, as a precaution, I'm going to die cut a second one and glue them together because he's just a little bit flimsy and delicate. So, let me find that die. Do you believe this is him right here? Paper. Just keep scraps of white kicking around. I'll be right back. We're gonna go die cut that one so that we can finish up this card. Gonna lay a quick bit of color on here around the edges. And I'm gonna go ahead, add some glue. This is just Nouveau white glue. Again, I'm just gonna kind of go around the edges. Not too particular. Position this on there. Starting with those delicate feet. Back where it's supposed to be. circle like a sunshine. I really like that idea. It's a really good idea. All right, got him glued. Let's just pull it out and set him aside for a second. A little more stable than he was before. Okay. Now I've also got another die cut block that's going to go on the inside of my card. And we're just going to ink that up. I like the sunshine idea. I think instead of just going with a circle, we're just going to do a little ink blending like it's just kind of sunny rays coming. See what it looks like. Pick a corner and just go with it. See what it looks like. If nothing else, it will just be some blending. I'm going to go in with patina. Try not to overlap my little sunny corner too much. I'm going to come back in with some more yellow after. Okay. Let's add a little bit of yellow again. Sucker for a good blend. I know there's a bit of green in there, but I kind of dig it, gotta say. All right, let's see what our window's gonna come out like. So this is gonna go in here. And we got our branches over it. I like the sun. Good call. And then our bird. Gonna go right there. Pretty. All right. Let's get this glued on. And we're gonna do some sentiments. And on the last one, thank you, Carol. I think it's time. Whoops, gosh, clumsy. On the last one, I picked the colors from both my sky and the bird. Kind of an inside-outside. Oop, I was a little off on that. See if I can get them still. We're just gonna leave it. It's close enough. Right, yeah. All right, so I did red to match the bird on the Let's Celebrate, and then I did peacock feathers to match the sky for the happy birthday. I realized the other day that I'm completely missing my Mother's Day stamps. I think I've had my house kind of packed up in preparing for a move that's kind of on hold right now, and a lot of my basic stuff is packed up, which is one reason why I'm working with a lot of white. All right, so I'm going to put some glue on that tail and the feet, and I'm just using a Zig glue pen just because it's handy. Up so I don't get glue on something I don't want to. Put the little feet down. Okay. And while I got it folded open like that, let's go ahead with the, well, I got happy birthday right now. So let's do happy birthday on the front again. I like how that worked out. There's my happy birthday. Clean this, peel it off. And I couldn't find it in the shop to put a link, but this is a set by My Favorite Things. That's just all birthday wishes, and it's just a fun little set. There's a few in there that can be definitely used for other things. I love the script on it. If they're still making it, maybe Rhea can bring it back in. I've had it for a while. So I've got happy birthday, and then on the other one I did let's celebrate. Let's go with maybe make a wish or cheers. Let's go make a wish. I tend to save make a wish for when I'm working with a cake or candles or something like that, but there is no need to save it for that. A lot of people say that a cardinal is a loved one in heaven coming to visit you, and you should make a wish on those. Which is quite a nice thought, I think. Get my head out of the way. Make a wish. Pretty, pretty. All right, so I think we're done. Got our inside, got our right fold, and our top. And it's just a quick and easy little gatefold card. Hardest part was probably doing the die cutting. I love the sun idea. I think it's just really cheery. This would certainly brighten my day if I got it. All right, well, let's finish off our sunflower card. I think we should have some dry pieces that we can work with here. So here's our inside. Seems dry to me. Let's go ahead and start with that. Our glue is not quite dry, so I'm just going to have to be careful. That's all there is to it. Live and learn. And I think I would have learned by now, after as long as I've been doing this, not to put the glue on until the very last step. I was hoping I could show you. All right. So I think I should be able to just eyeball it and just keep an even margin around those three sides, and it should line up just fine. Very nice. Get that little surprise, a little bit of pink in there. I like that. And then this is going to go there. And I think for this one, well, it's going to be a little tricky because it's wet. Let's just say that. I'm going to go ahead and start with some glue this way, which is definitely not how I normally do this. I normally would put, oh, I'm out of tape. Okay. I'm not going to change that on camera. We're just going to switch mediums. Pull out the silk wing. Which is probably what I should have started with anyways. Do one more piece in the middle. I think my tops and my top and bottom are good. Oopsie. Let's be as going to have a little bit of dimension to it. It kind of pops up a bit. So we kind of have to eyeball both the window and the outer margin just to make sure that they're both straight. And there we have it. I'm going to give just a dab of glue underneath that bee just to hold it in place. I need just a touch on the leaf, touch on the flower. Just to get his little body in there. Pardon me, I'm whispering. Gentle movements. Alright, well, it's not quite dry, but I'll share this card on my Tuesday with Tara blog post, and you'll see the finished look with the shimmery wings, but I like that little touch of pink that we've added. It's kind of fun. And, you know, we got a little bit on the leaf, but that's okay. So, 2 cards using window dies. Again, this first one, we used Hero Arts Looking Glass dies. There's some really great little sets, sets of 3 different themes. And the one I'm using is called Bee and Flowers. I've got the link in the comments. This was my original card. And this is the one we just did now. Just a little bit of pink to it. And we also have a card using the Slimline die cut system by Picket Fence Studios. It's a great versatile set with lots of pieces, and I have just used the stitched square frame and the stitched tree or branch frame, or not stitched, it's just a tree or branch frame, and I've used that to make this cute little trifold card. And it features the Silhouette Birds by Tim Holtz as well. So I hope you enjoyed those cards. I hope you maybe learned something new that you want to try. And again, I'll be sharing pictures of the finished cards on Tuesday, on my Tuesday with Tara post. Definitely feel free to ask questions if you're watching this on replay. Let me know you're watching on replay, and I will pop back later to answer some questions. And I will see you soon on another Crafty Live. Hope you have a great Saturday. See if I can figure out how to turn this off.